Fenton and I'm an aeromodeller and an engineer. Join me on a fascinating journey where I show you some of the techniques used in scale aeromodelling. I've shown casting many times before and you've seen it several times, but with the tweaking to spinach, the chipmunk, I'm having a look at maybe making some wheel covers, maybe a new fairing for the light, which the bulb has failed, so I've had to take it all apart and to replace the bulb. And there is a possibility that I could use mouldings from this and vac form them, but anyway, we're playing around. So what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to mould two handles for the canopy. So what I'm using is bi-resin G26, which is a part A, part B resin that goes off very quickly. So what I'm going to do is I've zeroed the scales, and my scales were stuck together, so I must have got some resin on it from last time, so I wouldn't be surprised if I'm going to have to buy some new scales. So what I'm going to do is put, first of all, I'm going to put my glasses on because I can't see a flipping thing. Right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put about that much, which turns out to be less than a gram, so I'm going to go to a gram. That's 0.8, 0.9, that might settle on 1 in a second. Okay, it's going to go with 0.9. There it goes to 1. So I'll zero it again, and then we'll add 1 to this. 0.7, 1. 1.1, so it's close, but we won't worry about that too much. Now, we can't hang around, and I didn't have a stirring stick ready, but I have now. So quickly stir this and we don't get long. It's got to be thorough, but also you can't take too long, so make sure you get it from the sides, get it from the bottom, get it from the edges, and we should be good. You're good for about 5 minutes, to be honest. Right, and there we go. That should be okay. Then we take our mould. I'm going to give it a bit of a blowout, just in case there's some residue in there. And then, hoping you can see this, I'm just going to pour some of this bi-resin in there till the mould fills completely, and then I'm just going to let it close. You'll see some spilt out, and you can see how much I've wasted, which is a bit of a shame, but that's how it goes, you know. So I'm going to just exercise that. Now that'll go cloudy on top. Okay, I left it quite some time before I did this next bit. I went and did something else in the garage. But here you can see it's nice and hard and it's set. So all we do is just sort of squeeze the mould a little bit to release hopefully the part inside. Now this should be a door handle. So it'll come out. There we go. One pretty much perfect door handle. If you remember, we did it for the Oster. We made something very similar but a little bit bigger. The tip never did form, but with this mould done exactly the same way, it seems to work just fine. Bit strange, eh? But there you go. Mould making, always a prize in every packet. Every time you do it, it's different. Get that bit of flash off of there, and in this case I'm going to leave some of this flash around the handle bit just to make the base a little bit bigger, because it's it can be a bit fragile, you see, so even though it might look a bit unsightly, I'm going to glue it using this slightly bigger base. So just got another one of those to pour, which I'll do right now. So there's our resin that was in the pot that had gone hard on us. Bit of luck. Get them out. And our pot's good to go again. So, same as what we did before. Put a gram of this in. 1.2. 1.3 in fact. Zero it. This one's a little bit more controllable, so it's a better second one. So we're looking at 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 in fact. Near enough. So squeeze the mould open, give it a quick blow. Oh, we've not stirred it. Tut tut. That should do us. Open the mould. Splooge some of that in there until it fills it, and then give it a bit of a agitate just to make sure the mould is full. I'm going to put a bit more in because I can see. There we go. Now, so we just let that set now. It's usually hard within 5-10 minutes, but in this case I'm going to leave it while I do something else. Okay, rather than waste this resin, I'm going to try something. So I'm going to pour it straight in there. This is a mould for the landing light. All of it in there. Then I'm going to cover it with a plastic. This plastic sheet is very, very good in that it doesn't stick. So I'm going to hold it closed and I'm going to tumble it like that. Okay. And when you change your fingers, make sure you're the right way up. Now I'm not really too bothered about this surface, but I am bothered about the ends and the base. So if you just keep rotating it, you should get fairly good coverage over the whole thing. That's the plan. And what you're doing is waiting for this to set, which actually it has already, so we may not have done that quick enough. So we'll just have to see. Still running inside there. There wasn't enough resin in there. The walls of the made part are going to be much too thin for this to work. But you get the idea. This is what I call roto-moulding or roto-casting. So and I could see there's an area there that's not worked, and the sides there's not enough. I know what I could do. Again, you're not really supposed to do this. Could make up another batch. So I've got some left that I wasn't sure what I was going to do with anyway. I'm only doing this because I do actually need a new light fitting. So I'll do this and just see what we get, and we might be able to modify it to make it work. So we give it a good stir and then pour it into this mould here, and you can see now we've got a lot more in there. So put this lid on the top, press it down, and mould it. Still running in the pot, in our witness pot, so we should have still a runny mess in here. Now what I need to do on this mould is actually mark the front of it so that I know which bit I need to concentrate on the resin getting into, because the front bit, the bowl where the light goes in, is the bit you probably want to be the thickest. If I knew which piece that was, which end of the mould was, I could bias the tumbling. You can see the other handle has already gone hard. The beauty of this way of casting is that you make a hollow piece, which is much, much lighter. And if you've got wiring and stuff to put inside of it, as we do here, it could be very good. That's still got a little bit of tackiness to it, so I'm going to leave both of these for a while and go and look at something else. Let's have a look inside these moulds, shall we? So this is the handle. So with a bit of luck we've got another one to play with. Chipmunk has two, obviously. One at the front and one at the rear of the cockpit. Ooh, that's never happened. But it doesn't really matter, I don't think. Let's lift that out. There we go. And flashing on the top. I'm going to try and make the back a little bit flatter without breaking it. Same as the other one, I'm going to use that bit of flash as a sort of a bigger surface area to attach it to the model. Now on my subject, they're not yellow, they're black. Right, let's have a look inside of here, see what we got. So this is the plastic. It doesn't stick to this mould stuff very well, so we should be okay. Now this could be quite thin. There again, it might not be. So we splay the mould open a little bit, see what we got. And I can already see that this bit is quite thin because I can see through it, which is good, because this bit I don't really need to worry about. So it mounts on the leg like that. So this is cut open for the wiring. And this is all cut open to go around the oleo. And then this area here is cut open to allow the insertion of a lens. I need to think about how I'm going to do it, because the lens I have been using is a slightly different size. So there's the lens I was using. As you can see, it's not quite the same size. I do have a slightly smaller one. That's one of these torches. A little bit closer, so I might be able to use that lens inside there, and then that clear plastic lens over the top. Yeah, there are lots of options. Anyway, as you can see, it's now come out of the mould, and probably have to Dremel this to get it to open up that bit. But there we go, it's a hollow. And there we have the two handles mounted on the cockpit. They're normally straight, but I thought I'd put them at a bit of an angle, just as a bit of a jaunty angle. Probably should have been straight. Anyway, there we go. That's the handles. I'm just going to put a little bit of flat black on there just to mimic the full size. Just to close the loop on the mouldings I did earlier, if you recall, I cast apart for the landing light, and this is the original that I made the mould from, and as you saw, we roto moulded the item, and there's the mould. So we put a piece of plastic at the top and we roto moulded it, and when it came out it looked something like that. The difference was it was hollow. So I took the Dremel to it and I hollowed it out further, and this in fact is it, completely hollowed out. Okay, and it's thin enough that it will wrap around the oleo leg. Now that's a thought. This is what I was thinking of trying anyway. This has got a very bright LED light in the end of it, and I may resort to that, but the problem is it's actually 1/6 scale, and Spinach the Chipmunk is 1/5 scale, so it needs to be a little bit bigger, just a bit. But if I couldn't get the other one, the old one, working again, then I would resort to this. But for now I've put that aside. Just for information, the lens and everything from this is out of one of these torches, and I got loads of them. Well, I've run out now, and basically they're 3 volts, so 2.4, 2.5. So you use 2 AA's or 2 AA's to drive it, and it is very bright. It's much brighter than you'd think. It has some sort of amplifier circuit built into it. So you've got the, where's it all gone? So you've got the LED on a metal heat sink, and then connected to that you've got this little circuit, and that little circuit seems to increase the voltage. If you put 2.5 volts, 3 volts onto that, it's very dim, but if you put it through that first, as I have here, then it's very, very bright indeed. Anyway, as I said, that aside for now, what I've decided to do is to go back to my original piece, and if you remember I'd hollowed it all out to access the bulb, and this was the bulb that was in there, and it's actually a normal xenon bulb that is rated at 3 volts. I'm driving it with 4, but just makes it a bit brighter. And these are the bulbs. You get them in a pack of 2 for £5. So the lens and the bulb originally came from a mini mag light. Hence these are replacement bulbs for the mini mag light. So I soldered leads onto the bulb, and that's these. I put a servo connector on the end just to make it easy to attach and detach, and there you have it. There is one more bit that I need to add, and that's the lens that goes on top. It's a bit frosty and a bit cloudy, which I'm not very happy about, but I'll use it anyway because I think the light will shine through that fairly well, and if nothing else it'll just make the lens look very white. So I've siliconed it to the oleo leg. I'll have to do a bit of repair work around here just to make it look pretty, just fill it all in, or even just touch it in with some silver paint. And then the oleo fits inside, kind of like that, and then it can go back on the model. This might be a useful little trick that you may need one day. Here we have a plastic lens that should be clear, and as you can clearly see, it's not. So it's got a bit foggy. So some of you may already know this, those of you that have done anything with plastic modelling, but there is a product called Clear, which is K-L-E-A-R, and it's a Johnson product, and it's a floor shining product. It puts a coating on the floor and makes it nice and shiny. But it works very well to restore a clear finish to things that have got a bit cloudy. So all I'm going to do is take a brush with some on it and just, I'll hold it up so you can actually see what's going on. And I'll put a layer on top. And there you can see it's much clearer. It's not perfect, but it's much clearer. I'm going to put a layer on the back as well, just to see if that helps. So, you can see through. It's much clearer now than it was. So a useful little trick that, if you end up with a canopy or something like that that's got scratched or marked, or you've had to try and polish it out and you've ended up making it a little bit cloudy, this will help. Won't cure it, but it'll help. So that just sort of closes up the feature on the landing light, just in case you were curious.